Cool. Well, good afternoon, folks. I've got a couple of things I'd like to read for you. I'll do one kind of essay from some of my longer format stuff, a few poems, and if I have time, I'd like to read a single poem from Audre Lorde as well to kind of end my set. We'll see if we have a lot of time. I'll make some time for Audre Lorde. So the first short essay I'm going to read is called Sin Eater. I am unapologetically myself in places where I get glances that I know don't wish me well. I have to stand assertive in my identity. This summer I would stand with the ladies in black down on 4th Street. It was probably the most public that I could be. I would go and stand for an hour or as much of the hour that I could because I have work right before, and I would race downtown to stand for half that time. I would hold my sign. I had a reversible sign. One side said, "Give peace a chance," and the other said, "We stand for peace." I would think that "Give peace a chance" reminded me too much of the song and felt corny, so I would do the other side. The sign made me a part of the group, and that made me feel solidarity, even though I was the only person that openly identified as non-binary or trans. The rest of the group were older AFAB ladies and one younger person who was the daughter of one of the older people. And I would see people in their cars as they drove past. And I would see people in cars that would affirm me. Maybe they would smile or nod their head up or honk their horn as one does in support of protests. But sometimes I would see people that would get angry at seeing me or try to stare me down. What brings me discomfort are the ways these people would look at me. I would know the harm they wanted to do to me. I can still feel their hatred, even though the moment is gone. And like a sin eater, I would take it from them and hold it in my body. I eat their sin and digest it, process it, and then would stand defiant in the face of it. I can happily hold a steady gaze with an angry person. Some of my childhood prepared me for moments like these. I wanted to be seen. It didn't matter that people were angry about seeing me. The fact was they were seeing me. One of the things we reflect on while standing as part of the Women in Black is peace. And so I wish peace upon the people that would give me evil stares, as I would wonder about the harm they would wish upon my body. I often bring headphones so I can pass the time with music, even though it's a silent vigil. Sometimes I think about how the headphones may dishonor the idea of it being silent, but I need it to get me through the experience. My music brings me comfort. I can hide there when I'm in person. People can't hurt me inside of myself. No matter what people think they can do to me, I exist as an idea that is much stronger than them. And when I'm in my music, I can move my body and dance out all the little sins that I've eaten throughout the day. When the hour is finished, I would pack up the signs with the others. They were brought by Debbie, one of the older women in black. We stand in a circle afterward and chat about peace. I don't mention the people that made me feel uncomfortable. After circling, we would head our separate ways. A few times I would head down to the lake to relax a bit on a Friday. Occasionally I would pick up dinner down the street and walk there in my dress. I would see the same looks while picking up my dinner, or I would see the glances that locked eyes with me and then quickly looked away. I drive home knowing I was seen, knowing I was me. I read a couple poems from my book. I wish I am literally like packed up in a trailer right now, putting my cars through the paces. Her name is Ruby. If anyone has seen Steven Universe, she's named after Ruby from Steven Universe, and she is small and tough, and she is proving herself most capable on this trip as she hauls up a full 3,500-pound load up the mountains, which I didn't have to take. So anyways, more on that later. The first poem in my book is called The Giantess. When she rests, she is the rocky butte over which clouds race. Her blankets, their shadows, her face is traceable stone, hard against the horizons, feminine shapes that rise from the gouache sunset. When she wakes, tremble the earth does. Sleepily she opens her eyes as her calcified humors slide down her body, pulled to the ground to be buried by her stirring. She stretches in the moonlight, feminine shapes traced by magic, thick in the beams. She walks the vast scale of the arid waste, abundance and life brought in every step, until she reaches the secret spaces known only to her, her garden full of roses rising in defiance of the heat and dry, feminine shapes traced by caring and calloused hands. By the way, is it helpful if I share my screen? Because I'm reading these poems off of something, so y'all could also kind of get the words. Is that helpful? Yes or no? Thumbs. People, I'm getting some thumbs. All right, so let's see if I can share my screen. Let's see. Oh, I can only the host can share.
I think we're about to make you co-host.
Okay. Sassy code.
While watching me, I feel under pressure.
No rush.
Here's that. Right click on these spots.
I can talk a little bit about the book as this is happening, which I've made my own book this year, which was very interesting, kind of formatting. I'm co-host, so see if I can't just share my screen. Start now. Oh my goodness, what's going on? If this is terrible, let me know, and I won't do it. Can y'all see the poem?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go to Mirrors of Myself. Looking at you is like looking into the mirror, seeing myself only beautiful in the ways I wish I could be. And sometimes when I catch your eye in the mirror, I see the same look coming back at me. But I've broken too many mirrors, and I do not want to break you or be broken again. The poetry flows out of me when I sit at peace. My space of poetry is often full of pain, and I come to rhyme schemes and line meter to empty my veins. Sorry, trigger warning. Slow suicide in words as I kill the versions of myself that scream for light, for warmth, for love. Hungry and thirsty they scream. I come to rob them of their stories and their hearts, for they are bitter, but they are good because they are my heart. I like it, to empty my pain for others to see. Look, I hurt too. I hurt more. I hurt still. But what work have I done to journey into the wilderness of myself? And instead of harvesting my pain for love, harvest my love to heal the pain of those parts that scream. To give myself the attention? To give myself the attention to the parts of me that are tensed, that need to be stretched, that need to be released. To the parts of me that are alone, and give them a blanket and cocoa and sit with them and tell them their loneliness is more than something that yearns for the attention of others, but is actually something that makes them a good companion, something that makes them a person who watches out for others, a person who knows that you can drown in 4 inches of water as easily as 40 feet, and keeps a buoy handy for those that need to float a little longer. How are you feeling right now? I feel like I hurt myself over and over, and as much of me as I see in you, I'm afraid that it will all play out the same, that I will hurt you because of the me I see there. The beauty that you see in me is skin deep. I want you to see the ugly deep down and turn away, and if I try hard enough, I can convince you that what you see is damaged goods, just like all the others have labeled me. And now, if I were to write a label for myself, what would it say? Would it say defective? Would it say injured, broken, devastated, in need of water and love? But those things are not fair to put on you. I need to learn how to water those gardens for myself and give them the fertilizer that they need to grow and be healthy. And so I take long trips through the wilderness, the long trips in cars where I just see the world and be awed and humbled, where I go to places that reminds that the world is so much bigger than my single existence. I get too stuck inside of myself to see I am the forest. I am the trees. So are we all. What if I pulled from the parts of me that were healing? What if I pulled from the parts of me that were healed, not screaming for things they have been without, but instead were screaming for change, for liberation, for sisterhood and brotherhood and personhood and humanity and dignity? What would those parts say to you? Do they speak through me, or do I stifle them with the gags and muzzles of outdated worldviews, of perspectives of those long dead and past? Are they of this moment too? Do they speak to us in riddles of the past to decipher our futures? Will we use the stars and cards to divine our ways? Or will we chart our paths through the journey of ourselves? Walk the worlds with our feet, travel the plains and byways of the thoughtscapes accessible by us through life and dream and peace. So many of us are injured. So many of us scream and pass down that pain to another, and pass down that pain to another, and pass down that pain to another. We are trapped in cycles of ever-increasing punishment, magnified by perceptions of the colds we hold on to, knowing they burn hotter in our hands than when they were first given, but choosing to pass them on so that others can feel the pain. When will we hold out open our burned palms and offer to take the coals back, offer to put them down, to start a fire that we both can warm to, instead of scarring each other back and forth over the time and spaces of our bodies and our hearts and our minds? Let us sit by the fire we have made together in each other's company and heal and learn about each other and sing each other the songs that we hold in our throats, the songs that tell the true story of ourselves, the songs that tell the history of our people, that tell of trysts and counting coup, fecundity and desolation, so that together we can learn how not to hold our coals again, how to be in community with each other. And what if I could write a new label for myself? What label would I be able to give myself then? Would it say healer, or whole, content, available, seeking others to journey life? And if you saw those labels instead, what else would you need to know? Thank you. I'll read one more from this, the title track, which is Transmutations. This is the lovers from the tarot, and I kind of did a little gender bend there, but Transmutations. And I'm sorry I'm rushing because I'm going to get to the Audre Lorde as well. There is alchemy inside of me as I search for the answers to the riddles of life and death. My alembics and ampules have broken hearts and my own 100 times, boiling them down and distilling the vapors, searching for the answers to how they work. Maybe if I slow down this reaction, maybe if I speed up this one, will the outcomes be different? In my own body, I push together disparate halves. The divine in me is melted down, cast into ingots, reforged again and again in the fires, turned into a blade, a kettle, a gate, a ladder. Whichever shape I give it, I try again to answer the questions that remain deep within. Is it possible to turn lead into gold? I know it must be, for pieces of me shine bright with forgotten lusters, a philosopher's stone made in the crucibles of healing. The furnace of my body is a forge for brief infinities. What immortal hand or eye dare craft my fearful symmetries? Did they who made the fascists make thee? Thank you. And then, sorry, let me do one thing. Let's do, oh, I see, that's why. This is Audre Lorde, a litany for survival. If you're not familiar with Audre Lorde, they were a Black, lesbian, feminist from the 60s and 70s. I really suggest their essays, Sister Outsider. And let's get to, oh my goodness, is this just an analysis? I am so sorry. That's why I actually searched for analysis. Here we go. A Litany for Survival by Audre Lorde. For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone. For those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice, who love in doorways coming and going in the hours between dawns, looking inward and outward, at once before and after, seeking a now that can breed futures like bread in our children's mouths, so that their dreams will not reflect the death of ours. Sorry for including any words. For those of us who are imprinted with fear, like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk. For by this weapon, this illusion of some safety to be found, the heavy-footed hoped to silence us. For all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. And when the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we are afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we are afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we are afraid love will vanish. And when we are alone, we are afraid love will never return. And when we speak, we're afraid our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can stop. Whole time? Was I muted the whole time?
No, no. We would have let you good.
I was like, oh my goodness. Cool. Well, thank you so much for letting me read you some poems.
Testing. Oh, great. All right. Thank you, Diana, for that amazing performance. Does anyone have any questions?